my
The
gosh.
clock's way off.
I already told Matt. He said he'll have it fixed before the bathroom. Like, third time.
I'd like to call to order our regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, July 8th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members that have given their lives while defending our country. Would everybody please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Miller, can you take the roll, please?
Mayor Walker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jacobs.
Here.
Councilmember Lynch.
Here.
Councilmember Squires.
Here.
Councilmember Earl.
Here.
Councilmember McCarge.
Here.
Councilmember Kerwin.
Here.
Okay, we'll move on to item 4, approval of the agenda as presented. Motion's in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Lynch.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Monday, July 8th, 2019.
support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 5, we have no recognition tonight, no presentations. Move on to item 7, comments from state and county officials. I see we have our state representative, Jewel Jones, here.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Administration, citizens. I know I haven't been here in quite a while, but I hope all is well. I hope everything's been going good. We're currently on a legislative break right now, recess while the budget has been sent in conference a couple weeks ago. So we're working through the budget right now. Should be back most likely in next week to begin voting on it now. But you know, if you all have any questions or comments, I'd love to answer those now or no.
Can you expand on the new car insurance changes for Michigan residents?
Yeah, for right now, as some of you may know, the Mackinac Policy Conference, which is an annual legislative policy conference held on Mackinac Island. Right before that, the week prior, we had voted, the House, the Senate, and the governor signed off on the new auto insurance policy. I did happen to vote for it. Still have some reservations about the policy. However, what it does is it's guaranteeing rate reductions, but it's not for your entire auto insurance rate. So it's basically giving you a rate reduction in your PIP, which is your personal injury protection. The only thing with that is, depending on what level of coverage you opt to, you may see rate reductions. And so they have where you can keep the option of unlimited protection, what we have right now currently. You can opt to a $500,000 policy or a $250,000 policy. Now, as you continue to go lower and lower in your policy coverage options, that's when you begin to put yourself kind of in a bad place in the event that something can happen. The only thing with that, which was my concern, is we were trying to put together a bipartisan plan with the Democrats and the Republicans. We actually, on this issue, had a few people that actually claimed to become independents because we kind of got into the weeds on this issue out there. We tried to put forth a bipartisan plan that would preserve the coverage levels and still allow people to opt out to different rates, and also give you a guaranteed rate reduction right on the surface instead of just in your personal injury protection. And so while this is a step in the right direction, we're bringing reform to the auto insurance industry. This is not quite where Michigan needs to be yet. And so this has been signed into law, but there's still a lot going on around it. I think the biggest issue that we're tackling right now is dealing with the redlining and some of the territories, because a lot of different things that were mentioned in this specific legislation dealing with zip codes being removed, credit scores being removed, still leave space for us to instead of targeting credit scores, target credit ratings, and instead of targeting zip codes, we're targeting territories. And so the same thing that they've been doing for years is still a potential for them to do now, even on a greater scale. And so we're still trying to amend the current legislation so we can really save people real rates. Because at the end of the day, most people are going to stay with the unlimited coverage we have now and continue to pay the same rates. So.
Okay. And I get a lot of questions about recreational marijuana. The residents of Michigan voted to legalize marijuana. Correct. It's legal to smoke marijuana on your own property in your house. But there was an issue. They wanted to open up recreational marijuana stores. And Garden City, as well as 400 other cities, opted out until the state gets all the rules and regulations in place. Are they working on that? Is there anything coming from the state on how they're going to handle recreational marijuana?
Yeah, so they're working on it right now. The commission is. Later this year, most likely in the fall, I assume it'll be around October, November time, is when you'll actually start seeing some real traction happen, some more things happen out in the public side. But right now, most of the stuff is behind the scenes. They're having meetings still going through that because, like you know, we have states like Colorado. More of our states out west are. I would say they're veterans on this issue. And since we're getting into it now, they're still trying to examine some of the issues that have been happening with some of these states so we can try to mitigate some of that before we actually jump into it. Because as many of you already know, when we first did medical marijuana, we've seen, especially in places like Detroit, people open up all kinds of stores. There's a lot of unregulation, so they want to make sure it's regulated properly this go around, especially dealing with recreational marijuana, because now we're opening up the door for, hey, if you're over 18, you can purchase marijuana. And we still want to make sure that at the same time where they're trying to get together the legislation for actual recreational marijuana, they're also trying to take care of some of the other different things in terms of decriminalization. Right. Because we have a lot of people, as we know, who have been arrested and locked up, previously convicted for a lot of these different crimes that now the state is about to benefit off of. So this is a very ambiguous issue. It's multifaceted, so it's going to take a while, but I assume around October, November, that's when we'll actually start seeing some more public information about this stuff coming out.
That's the questions I get asked a lot about those two, car insurance and recreational marijuana. So I'm glad somebody from Lansing's here to explain what's going on. But that's why we opted out as with all the other 400 cities, and there's nothing in place yet.
Exactly. It's not smart
and we're not going to. And if we would okayed that, then all these people would be grandfathered, and they could open up 1 million stores. There'd be no rules in play, and we'd have a disaster. So I want the residents to hear all that, and so until the state gets their act together on how they're going to regulate, that's where we're at. So I hope that answers a lot of residents' concerns.
And I think too, Mr. Mayor, if I may, in terms of the medical marijuana, the recreational marijuana issue, I think it's powerful too for the local ordinances, for you to probably you ought to start thinking about how you want to regulate that in terms of how many dispensaries or how many grows you want to have actually in the community. I remember when I was on city council in Inkster, we're only 6.36 square miles, so we didn't want to become overwhelmed because it's an extremely fast-growing industry, as I'm sure you all know, and a lot of people try to get into it early on. So maybe take some time in the meantime while we have time before it really explodes to figure out what really makes sense.
Well, we've already regulated our medical marijuana, how many we allow, and we only allow them in the industrial park.
Right.
But we've done nothing with recreational. We're waiting for the state. So we're not even going to go there till the state gets their rules in place, and then we'll go there from there. Okay. Anybody got any questions for the state rep? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Call up County Commissioner Glenn Anderson. Oh, Senator Betty Jean Alexander's office.
Thank you. Good evening.
Still waiting to see her.
Good evening. Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, the residents, as well as the City Clerk and Treasurer and City Manager. Thank you for giving me the floor for a moment. My name is Lisa Hicks Clayton. I'm a City Council member from the neighboring community of Dearborn Heights, so I'm your neighbor. A lot of the things you deal with, we deal with as well, so I enjoy attending your meetings, so thank you for that opportunity. I am the community liaison for Senator Betty Jean Alexander's office. And thank you, Joelle, State Representative Jones, because you've covered a lot of the information questions. I want you to know I have noted those things as well. You see me taking notes. We have a staff meeting tomorrow, and I always report back. I sent an email, report back tonight, so the senator is in the loop. The senator sends her best regards. As the representative said, they just come off of a break because of the holiday, Independence Day. We celebrate and thank everyone who has served, so we have those freedoms that are not free necessarily. There's a price paid for those freedoms. But with that, we've been working through in the district continuously. We have not stopped, including the senator. I recently met and have had one-on-ones with all of our school district superintendents. We're working on a back-to-school survival kit for our students, working with police and fire as well to fill those kits with things that will benefit all of the students in the 5th district that the senator represents. And I want to thank your school superintendent, Derek Fisher. I found him very knowledgeable and enjoyed my conversation with him. So I think you're in good hands with your school superintendent. I do want to share with you that our Attorney General, Dana Nessel, as you know, she travels around the state and does town hall meetings and informational opportunities for our residents. And she has contacted our office as well as State Representative Jones' office. We're going to partner together and offer a town hall meeting. And we're hoping to do it in August. And this is going to be regarding elder abuse and laws to protect our elderly. So we'll have more information as that's made available. We're working through that right now. And then also we have a meeting coming up with your mayor, Mayor Walker. We look forward to that this week. We're trying to do one-on-ones with our elected officials, all of you. So that way we do that on a regular basis so I can hear from you, and the senator will hear from you as well. And yes, she is scheduling, planning to be here soon. So again, that's what the community liaison does. You know, if the senator can't be everywhere because of time restraints and other things happening, you get someone like me, and you all know me well, and I report back, and we work through things, and we work together for solutions that work for all of you, all of our constituents. So I just want to reassure you, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share my cell number with everybody, okay? You guys can write this down. If you want to put it on your display, you can do that. You can call me anytime. That's why I use my cell phone. You got a direct line to me. That's 313-348-9848. 313-348-9848. The last thing I have I'm going to ask you to do is, as the community liaison, I'm always looking for opportunities for the senator to come and be supportive of events in the community. A lot of times I have to go to social media to do that. And what I'm going to ask all of you to do, if you have something coming up that you want the senator to come out and support, I want you to email me. I want you to directly email me and say, hey, Lisa, we want some involvement, support, engagement. We're all about that. So if you write this down, or if you can display it across the screen when you televise this or put it on your government access channel, I'd appreciate it. That is LHICKS, and then there's the hyphen, CLAYTON, that's my name, L. Hicks Clayton, at Senate, SENATE, .Michigan, MICHIGAN.gov. I feel like I'm on a spelling bee. Do you feel that way? All right, well, thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it, and I do look forward to hearing from everyone, please. Thank you.
Thank you. County Commissioner Glenn Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. I just wanted to give you an update on some of the things that have been happening with the County Commission. On the last full board meeting, actually the first full board meeting of last month, a number of things were approved. We will be having another meeting tomorrow. But in that meeting, we approved a Wayne County Police mutual aid agreement with Wayne County Sheriff's Office and multiple departments around western Wayne County, including Garden City, to create a system of police mutual aid to provide for an all-hazard aid response. Also, we approved a contract with the Neighborhood Legal Defender Service to provide for indigent legal services for the Third Circuit Court. These are for felony cases. It's a new organization that was created based on a organization that had very high marks from New York, from the city of New York City, and they're going to be setting up the new legal defense system in Wayne County. There's been some concern over the years about the degree of service that the legal defense for those that unable to afford an attorney. I think there's been some questions raised over the years, and this should go a long way to correct that and provide better services. That contract's almost $8 million, and it has an option to renew. It's not to exceed that. That's in the first year. They're going to start moving over some of the cases that were handled by the other organization, and they'll keep some of those folks on in order to make a smooth transition. Also, the Federal Aid Committee for the county and all the communities around southeast Michigan in Wayne County met on June 27th at Westland City Hall, which I attended. And some of the proposed road projects for the next few years, in particular in Garden City and Westland, it's a couple of things that are shared by both communities. Merriman Road, the bridge is scheduled to be replaced over Hines Drive and Hines, the Rouge River feeder, I was going to say, but it's a little feeder stream for Rouge River and the bridge over Hines Drive. There's actually a double bridge there that's in terrible state of repair. If you ever go underneath, you can see where there's chunks of concrete that have fallen off of that bridge. I was actually called out there one time by Channel 7 they wanted to do a story on how bad our bridges were in Wayne County. And that was one I wanted them to come and see. But anyway, that's proposed for 2021. These were projects for the next 3 years. And so it's scheduled for the 2021 budget year. And that's expected to be about $2.25 million to replace that bridge. And also proposed for 2021 is road repairs, and my understanding is going to be a replacement, a grind, or a chip and seal finish at the very least, and it's over $750,000 on Merriman Road around the bridge between James Avenue and Hawthorne Drive. So that should smooth that out quite a bit, have a better flow of traffic. It's something that I get repeated calls about the potholes there, and sometimes you could actually see right down through the bridge, and it's just an intolerable situation for our motorists to be on. But anyway, that's all I have tonight.
Anything on Cherry Hill from Merriman to Inkster, redoing that?
Cherry Hill to Inkster, that's something that I talked to the chief engineer for the county just recently at this FAC meeting, and she was supposed to have gotten back with me last summer on if we were going to be able to get it on the project list. She's hoping to get it on the next project list that comes out. And the DPS director, Bev Watts, I've talked to her extensively about it, so I'm pushing hard on it. So
Okay.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay, community events. I'm going to say this because some people may not be here at the end. We got Operation Fire Up this Saturday. We're going to paint fire hydrants. This is our third year. This is put on by the Westland area JCs and a lot of Garden City residents. The city provides the paint, the brushes, the wire brushes, rags. We just need volunteers. We've got about 850, 900 fire hydrants in the city, and I think we got about half of them painted. It beautifies the city. So anybody wanting to paint this Saturday, we're going to be out there from 9 a.m. to about noon. Show up at the Maplewood Community Center at 9 a.m. It's Operation Fire Up. to paint the fire hydrants in our city. No petitions or communications. Move on to item 10, our public hearing, election year changes. Mr. Miller, I'll let you start off, and then I'll ask if anybody wants to speak on this public hearing.
Okay.
Explain what we're doing here.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. At the last meeting on June 22nd, the City Council called for a public hearing regarding the proposal to amend the election schedule. So that's the public hearing we have this evening. Beginning in 2012, Public Act 279, which is a Home Rule City Act, and Public Act 116, the Michigan election law, provided for local governments by resolution to move the local election schedule to the even year. By doing so, this will align the local elections with the governor's and the presidential election cycle. In order to make this change, it will extend each council person's position by 1 year. And the law was very specific about that. It could only extend, it could not shorten any term. The city budget's approximately $30,000 for each election. This covers the costs really for that day, for the most part, paying the election workers, the cost of the printing the ballots, all of that. It does not take into any consideration the 2 months of concentrated work effort that comes before each election, that's done by staff to get ready to make sure that everything is programmed properly and that we have a smooth and flawless election day. 6 other communities that I know of in Wayne County have made the change and have done so without any issue and immediately realized the cost effectiveness of this change. Also, there is nothing in the law that prohibits the council from calling for a special election during those odd years. You do have the right to do so as long as you do so on the time schedule that is permitted by election law. And again, as part of streamlining of governmental services and cost savings, I brought this to the council as an option for Garden City.
Okay. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on election year changes, please come to the podium, state your name. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Move on to item 11, consent agenda.
Mayor?
Councilmember Lynch.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda, items 11A, 1, 2, and 3. Support. And if I may,
Yep, go ahead.
there's mention of a revised city council meeting schedule. The revision is in November, on November 12th is,
October.
oh, I'm sorry. That's not what Mike has. No, that's not the change. Okay, the change is the 28th to the 21st?
October 21st was
First to the
scheduled now. We're
28th.
moving to the 28th. And with the election the next week, it actually is one of those middle weeks anyway, so
Okay.
we won't have any two
So
council
there'll be
meetings
no
back to
meeting
back.
on October 21st, it will be on October 28th.
Yes, and there's no
Okay.
meeting the first week of November, so it fits.
Right,
That switch works.
yeah. The way it was highlighted on here, it,
That's the old,
yeah.
Okay, any comments from the table on this, from the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Item 2, we tabled at the last meeting, so a motion is in order to bring back from the table.
No, we need to go to
Number
item
one.
B1, please, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one, I'm sorry. Item B1, city council election year change, I went right past that. Councilmember Squires.
I move to adopt the following resolution and direct the city clerk to send the resolution to the Secretary of State that will amend the election schedule from the odd year to even year elections for the
Support.
city council.
Support from Councilmember Lynch. Any comments from the table?
Mayor,
Councilmember McCarge.
I got quite a few calls on this, and I'm definitely in favor of this. I think it's ultimately, it will save the city money. I think people were concerned about the additional year. I really don't think that's a problem. It's not like we have anybody waiting in line to run, to run for council. So this is a good time to do this, and ultimately, it will run, save the city money. So I definitely am in support.
Okay, any other comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, now a motion's ordered to take off the table, to bring back from the table, Wayne County sewer rate amendment.
So moved.
Do I get a support?
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Okay, Mr. Doherty, did you want to make some comments on this? Or
Yep, thank you,
Mr.
Mayor.
Miller?
Last meeting, there was a little confusion on the numbers itself. I think we got hung up on the new construction that Wayne County is putting on us for the sewer system, when what we were missing also is that 3 of our communities that we're working with are actually walking out of our system also. There are 16 communities that are involved in the Rouge Valley sewage system. 3 of them, Canton Township, Northville Township, and Plymouth Township, are leaving to go to Yipsy, I believe in that direction. We're landlocked, Westland's staying, you have Livonia staying, everybody around us is staying. So we're going from 16 communities splitting the cost down to 13, which is bringing an increase to all of us of $4 a month increase, so $404. The construction that we were discussing, and the presentation was done by a Wayne County engineer, was really about the cost of about $1.38. I believe it is $1.39, I'm sorry, $1.39 per month for the year. But the $1.39 with the $404 together is $5.43 a month, for a total of about $65 a year. And because the water bill's done bi-monthly, it's kind of back and forth with some numbers. So it is $5.43 a month or $65 a year, even though people pay, it would be $10, almost $11 for their water bill, because it's 2 months at a time. So we kind of got hung up at the last meeting on which is the exact number. This is the number. We met with Plant Moran after the meeting to make sure what we were going over. And if you recall, at the end of that last meeting, as we discussed this, I mentioned during the budget meeting, our number was about $65 a year. It's just for some reason we forgot about losing our roommates here. So basically, we have 16 roommates, and 3 of them have decided to move out. So our rent is now going to be higher no matter what we do. Whether we go forward with the construction or not, we're still looking at a $4 increase, because the fixed costs now are being split across 13 communities rather than 16. Unfortunately, again, to go back to what I mentioned earlier, we can't move out. We can't jump out with Canton and go to this other program. We can't build our own because it would cost multi-millions of dollars, and I'm not sure where we would put it in the community. So we're kind of stuck in a pickle here between 2 things. One is it's an automatic cost increase. There's 13 communities now instead of 16. That's $404 a month. And then the other is the $1.3839 that is going to be going towards the construction of a multi-million-dollar facility. That is only in phase 1 is the talk of, was it 20 million, Matt?
Yes.
Phase 1. And then there's other phases. As we talked about during the budget meeting, it could be up to $80 million for a full overhaul of the sewer system for the next couple of generations. From here to Detroit.
Yeah.
And we all got to pay for it. We don't have
All
much
the
of a choice.
communities are getting hit. So we use different unit prices, the different gallons compared to other communities. So we did some special math to try to compare ourselves specifically. We're at about a 99-cent, correct, per unit
Yes, per unit.
increase. On the good side for Northville community,
Livonia, well,
the
Livonia.
city, yeah, the city in Northville was 37.5.
Yes.
37 cents. But Livonia is $1.97. So they're twice the price Livonia is. In the end, we're in the middle. The size of our community, we're somewhere in the middle at 99 cents per unit. People use different units, different ways, gallons or liters or anything.
And when you get your water bill, it says how many units of water you used.
Yes.
Our unit is 747,
748.
748 gallons. Other communities, a unit is 1,000 gallons.
So to try to come up with that comparison, we
Right.
are $1 less than what Livonia is going up to, but we're 60 cents more than a smaller place like Northville City. Not the township. The township's leaving. So that answered some of the questions last week. How are we compared to everybody else? But we're stuck in this pickle of Wayne County they're going to increase, and the members are stuck with this increase. So that was what was discussed at the last meeting, and that's where we are. So it is $543 per property, 11,800 properties per month, which is $65 per year.
Any other comments from the table?
Mayor?
Mr. Councilmember Earl?
So had raised the question as to why the cost went up, and I appreciate you looking into it. I still have a serious problem with this. It seems like they came to us at the last minute, threw this at us, said, you have no choice, this is what you're gonna do. And they've been haphazard about their costs. I don't think they've been very honest about their costs. They didn't come to us and say, oh, by the way, these 3 communities have dropped out, they're going up. They just gave us an increase. I think they're rushing into something that should have been looked into more diligently. I think there's a cost that's going to be put onto all the citizens that I don't feel comfortable voting yes for, and I get it, even if we vote no, we're going to have to pay for it. But Wayne County hasn't done a very good job of explaining this. They owe our citizens an explanation, not a meeting in Livonia. They need to be in here, and not some assistant. Whoever is in charge needs to be in here and explain to our citizens why this is going on. You know, we just had this bond millage increase, and now they're hitting us with this. They've known about this for a long time, and this is the first I've heard of it was a couple months ago. So I'm against it. I think they're just pushing it too fast. I don't think that we've been involved enough, and I would like to see them slow down a bit and explain it to us and explain it to our citizens a little bit better. Thank you.
Councilmember Jacobs?
I agree 100% with what Councilmember Earl said. I also don't have a lot of faith in the way Wayne County builds things and gets things accomplished. We've had a lot of issues with a lot of structures that Wayne County has done. So I'm not, again, we're going to get stuck with this one way or another, but I'm not confident in it or with the way they did it.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it either, but if we don't pass this on to the residents and start collecting the money, when we get the bill from the county, because we didn't collect, it's gonna have to come out of the city's budget, and that's gonna be a big hit to our budget. We all use the water and the sewage. When we get a price increase, we gotta pass it on. So we can't afford to get a bill down the road that we didn't budget for. So even though I'm not happy about it, we don't have a lot of choices here, so.
If I could, sorry, but my problem is, you do it at the last minute, so people don't look into the option of getting out. You do it at the last minute, so people just vote and go with it, right? Had they explained it to everybody a year ago, this is what's coming up, more communities would have looked into opting out, so maybe we weren't landlocked. And that's why you come at the last second, and that's why you force it down people's throats, so people can't make decisions properly. That's the problem I have.
Okay. Councilmember Lynch?
Can we find out if Commissioner Anderson knows anything about this?
County Commission?
This is not something that comes before the commission.
Yeah,
It's,
that's what I
you know,
figured.
It's not something that we deal with. It's with the whole thing with the drain system in the county, but it's not something that we have received anything on ourselves even. But I don't think we have any approval in the process ourselves. It's just something that's handled with the Drain Commission. But it's,
That's what I guessed, but I just wanted to
right.
double check.
That's it.
And I'm just thinking the other side of the coin, this is maintenance on the sewer system. So if we said no, and we got a large rainfall, and they didn't do this work, and basements flood, then we're gonna get sued because we didn't vote yes, and people got water in their basement. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that can happen. I mean, I know for a fact the just like the bridges are crumbling, and I'm sure the sewers are from here to Detroit. They haven't worked on them in years. You got to maintain stuff or you're going to run into problems. So it's pay me today or pay me later. And I don't want water in my basement, you know.
Mayor, what's the
Councilmember
absolute
Crum?
deadline that we have to have this through by? Do we know?
We're starting to pay for it now, July 1st.
July 1st.
So until something changes, we're starting to pay.
And if you opt in, can you opt out later if you find something better?
Still two pieces. The bigger point is that we lost some of our roommates.
That's what I mean.
we can do with that one. And
Have we looked into where they're going?
They're going to the, yeah, we can't jump Westland.
I think Canton's sewer system goes out to Washtenaw County, and I'm sure Northville and Plymouth are just tapping into that. We would have to run pipe, well, you'd have to tear up, where are you gonna put it?
Because we're surrounded by,
We're in the middle. We're in the middle, so you're talking multi-millions of dollars to run a new line that way, to Ann Arbor.
So multi-million to run a new line or multi-million
Yeah.
to pay for something that's already
Exactly.
existing?
So-
It's
Mayor?
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Councilmember McCarty?
I agree. I think that the county, people in the county knew this was coming.
Sure they did.
And we should have been notified sooner. And I think that's a problem. But I have another question, because ultimately, I think we're going to have to pay. I don't think we can maybe delay it, but we're going to end up paying. Right now, our sewer disposal rate, right now, before the change, it's consumption-based rate, including excess sewer. We are currently paying $50.38, a unit. And then there is an annual fixed user charge, which is currently $61.99. My concern is that we are, even though you use the word fix in the letter, the information we received, instead of $17.37 per month, the new cost for our new Garden City residents is $22.80 per month. That sounds more like fixed, and when we went to this fixed and consumption-based, the two different things, we based that annual fixed on infrastructural, because all of us are paying for the infrastructure. If we put this rate into a consumption, it's going to be based on use. And to me, that's not fair. I'd like to see it flipped into the annual fixed charge, because we have to come every single year, we have to come back and adjust these rates. So if this is not enough, or if it's too much, we can adjust it. But under the consumption rate, if someone, let's say there's an empty house that's not using water, their rate is going to be extremely low, even though they're getting use of those, new sewer construction infrastructure that we all have to have. I think this penalizes the people who keep up their yards maybe a little better, or someone who has a bigger yard who has to water, they want to water, or people who have 4 kids compared to a senior who doesn't use water, and yet we're all using that sewer storm infrastructure change. So I would like to see us pay it. I would just like it flipped into the fixed user charge rather than the consumption-based charge.
Mayor?
Well, how the rate model was established was based on a consumption. So it's a historical flow rate is equaling kind of how they've made the determination of what our fixed rate will be.
I understand what
yeah.
you're saying,
So-
but doesn't make any difference, because you're saying that we have a basic idea what it's going to be like. We can still charge it to the annual fixed rate and adjust it as we need it. So on here, you're saying consequently, instead of $17.37 per month, the new cost for our Garden City residents is $22.80 per month. No, it's not. It's going to be based on consumption. So it might be $50 a month for one person and $5 a month for another person, based on their consumption. So no, I'm saying that if you have an average, you could put it into the fixed and adjust it on a yearly basis, so that all the homes in Garden City are equally charge for the Wayne County sewer infrastructure change. That is what I'm saying.
Now, you get somebody with high consumption, I'm going to flip it the other way. I'm going to use my house. I have a swimming pool, 12,500 gallons. I have a hot tub, 500 gallons. I have a sprinkler system. I water my lawn. I'm expecting my water bill any day. It's going to be between $500 and $600. I know that, and I pay it. Under your system, all this water that I'm using, the low users are going to help pay for that. Why should they pay for water in my swimming pool? Because I'm a high consumption, so I don't think it's fair for the lower consumption to have to pay for people like me that use a lot of water, or a business, a restaurant, or the hospital. How much water do they use? There's businesses that use a lot of water. There's residents that use a lot of water. I'm one of them. I don't think it's fair. That's why you pay by consumption. I would benefit from what you're saying, and the people with the low consumption are going to be paying to fill my swimming pool. I don't think that's fair.
Do we know what the fixed rate
They're
would be?
still paying for the water. We're not talking about the water, we're talking about the sewer.
But the
And
sewer
most of
goes
that
off the
water-
consumption of the
Most of that
water.
water is not going into the sewer system, it's going
But you're
into their
still
lawns
charged.
or into
It-
their.
you're- the sewer
And
is-
that's why we, several years ago, I wasn't on council even, when you went the fixed rate, specifically because it was, because everyone should have to pay for the infrastructure.
Mayor?
Councilmember Lynch?
When we first started talking about this, we had questioned whether we could put the $65 a year, break it up amongst the payments, and put it on the water bill as a Wayne County fee, so to speak. If we could still do something like that, or include the fee into the fixed rate, as Mrs. McCarr just saying, either way, if we could do that, there's nothing that says that if it ends up costing us more money, that we couldn't do the very same thing we're doing today, 6 months from now, and raise it up $5 more or whatever it needs to be. Am I correct?
Yes, I think at this point, once again, why don't we table this topic, come back with more detail on it. We're not losing anything at this point, we're paying what we need to pay. To come back with the question, because I believe in meeting with Plant Moran, there was concerns of consumption versus a fixed rate. But to come up with our best opportunity. The overall cost, of course, is the average, it's $65. So we would say if there's a price, it's $65.
Right.
So some people would be, as Mayor Bent said, benefiting, that may spend $100, but they're going to pay $65, and those that spend less. So being the average is $65, you got to figure $45, $85 is the approximate increase. But we need to come back with
So
something
we
else.
come back with $70, put it on there, and see if it covers it.
Well, 65
Yeah.
should be the correct number. It's just, again, it would be one fixed fee. To go to Councilman Earl's question also, maybe we just have someone from the county come back again. I think that night, they were doing several presentations, and we may not have had the most
Let's
detailed
table this and
engineer
invite
for it,
the
so
county back.
we can bring the troops in.
Mr. Anderson, can you have somebody come back?
Yes. That would be
Somebody
All right.
knowledgeable.
All right, so I need a motion to
Move to table?
Yep.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Any more comments from the table? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is tabled. No action tonight on the sewer rate. Item 3, 80/20 employee healthcare opt-out resolution. City manager, you want to make
Yes,
any?
Mayor, this is the Public Act 152 that allows communities to opt out of the 80/20 insurance. So we have several collective bargaining agreements that cover this. At this point, the deal was that employees contribute 12% of their salary to cover pension liabilities, so that way we can opt out from having the employees pay towards the health insurance. So this is something every year, every community that does this must opt out. So this is more of a housekeeping item to continue with our CBA agreements that we have in place.
Mayor,
Councilmember Earl.
I move to adopt the following resolution, an opt-out exemption as required by the Publicly Funded Healthcare Insurance Contribution Act, Public Act 152.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 4, Smart Municipal Community Credit Contract. City Clerk, Mr. Miller, you want to speak on this?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. As part of our agreement with Nankin Transit that provides our paratransit for the elderly and handicapped in the community, we have a contract with them to provide those services, and the money to fund that comes from the transit millage that SMART has on our taxes. So in turn, we're taking this, and it is becoming a community credit and municipal credit. So we're taking the funds that we would collect via that millage, and then we're passing them on to Nankin Transit to provide the service to our residents.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilmember McCarge.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2020 municipal credit and community credit contract with SMART in compliance with an agreement with Nankin Transit.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. I see their buses over at the senior towers all the time. Any other comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 5, easement agreement with McDonald's USA LLC. City Clerk, Mr. Miller.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is an easement agreement before you for the city to grant an easement to McDonald's to relocate the utilities that are on the site for the new McDonald's to come at the corner of Ford and Middle Belt. Currently, kind of on the south edge of the lot that is vacant where the gas station stood, there's a public alleyway that was vacated by the council. There was also public utilities, sewer, water, gas. Those were going through that alleyway also. McDonald's is proposing to reroute those around where they're going to be building the building, and continuing then on the west side. So they're going to come from the east, reroute that through their property, and then continue on to the west. So it's really a rerouting of the easements so that they're going to relocate those public utilities and then grant us, if anything happens, to have access to those utilities.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Councilmember Lynch.
I move to approve an easement agreement with McDonald's USA LLC for the relocation of the sanitary and storm sewers at 2205 Middle Belt Road.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. Any further comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 6, approve temporary traffic control order for the 2019 Great Bacon Run. Is Chief here? Yep, Chief Gibbon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the 2019 Bacon Run will be upon us in August, on August 17th. This is a temporary traffic control order that closes the streets and prohibits parking on certain streets in order to accommodate the increased foot traffic from runners and walkers. So we'll be between Bach and Merriman, or Bach between Merriman and Shaka will be closed to vehicle traffic and on-street parking between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. Also between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., Bach between Shaka and Henry Ruff, Shaka between Bach and Florence, Henry Ruff between Bach and Florence between Shaka and Henry Ruff will be closed to vehicle traffic, just to accommodate the runners.
Okay. Any comments, questions for the chief? Thank you, sir.
Mayor?
Councilmember Lynch.
I move to approve the attached temporary traffic control order for road closure and on-street parking prohibitions during the 2019 Great Bacon Run.
Support.
Support from Councilmember McCarge. Any other comments?
I do have a question. I should have asked it before, but when we were at the Parks and Rec meeting, we had talked about possibly one of the streets, only half of it closed so that some traffic could go through there.
We examined that discussion, and, we had concerns about having to close off half the streets from the runners and having them run with vehicle traffic on that same side. We closed all of the streets last year without doing that, and it's sort of take if it's not broke, don't fix it, philosophy to it. Though there was some adjustments to the route in discussions with Parks and Rec in order to make it a little less impactful. And the big change was on Bach Street, where they'll be heading from Henry Ruff to Bach, and they'll stop prior to Merriman and just turn around in the middle of the street, and that's why we'll be removing the parking. So I think what that did was allow us to sort of remove the amount of streets we have to impact, so that we didn't have to cut one in half and let vehicle traffic, so that we just made a little bit less of a map by just having them do a turnaround on one street. So, thank you.
Any other comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, 7-0, passes. Item 7, amend traffic control order 120 and 206. Chief, I'm going to let you speak on this one as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, this is, was a concern from a citizen from a couple meetings ago, expressed some concern about the number of accidents at Hennepin and Brant. There was a yield sign there, and we did a traffic study, and we found that since 2014, and this is a side street, mind you, there were 7 accidents since today and 2014. That's a significant amount of accidents in one area. They're a 1.5, 1.25 per year. So, you wouldn't, it's not an alarming statistic, but when you realize it's a side street with a lot of traffic, maybe there's something at that issue, or at that intersection. So because there was a yield sign which didn't require a full stop for someone to stop, look both ways and make sure traffic's safe, theory being that they're just not taking enough time to recognize the vehicles. A stop sign hopefully will accomplish driver taking the necessary steps when going north or southbound Brant.
So we're
to make
taking
sure-
the yield signs down and putting stop signs.
Putting the signs up. Yep, that's it. And we'll
That's
continue to
Hennepin and
evaluate
Brant?
it. That's Hennepin and Brant.
Okay. Any other comments from the table? From the general public?
We need a motion.
Oh, I thought we had a, oh, I'm sorry.
I move to
Councilmember
approve the attached amendment to Garden City Traffic Control Order Number 120, adding a stop sign on Brant at Hennepin to approve the attached amendment to Garden City Traffic Control Order Number 206, removing the yield sign on Brant at Hennepin.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Chief. Item 8, I'm going to call up Mr. Omen, the TPS Director, for the next 4 items, actually, 5 items. This one's a 3-year contract for cold patch materials. That's needed for filling potholes, right?
Correct.
So, a motion's in order.
Mayor?
Councilmember Jacobs?
I move to award the 3-year contract for cold patch materials to Cadillac Asphalt of Romulus, Michigan, per the bid process.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. Any comments from the table? I don't
Sure
think
this
any-
is enough?
I don't think anybody disagrees that we don't need cold patch in Garden City. From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, 7-0. Item 9, 3-year contract for water main repair clamps. Self-explanatory, right?
Yeah, we need
Mayor?
water main repair clamps also.
Mayor?
Councilmember
I
Lynch?
move to award the 3-year contract for water main repair clamps to Michigan Pipe and Valve of Jackson, Michigan, per the bid process.
Support.
Support from Councilmember McCarge. Any comments from the table on this? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, 7-0, passes. Item 10, 3-year contract for street sweeping.
Well, I'm sure you remember, we put this out for bid and it was awarded last September.
Right.
The contractor came in April 1st. We're very unhappy with the productivity and the service he provided. One sweep of the city was supposed to take 2 weeks. It took him over 2.5 months. A lot of complaints. His main concern or problem was equipment breakdown. Never really knew when they were going to show up. They come in one day, wouldn't see them for 3. This went on for 2 months, and I understand the equipment breakdown. That's probably the main reason we decided not to purchase one in-house. We were very unhappy with them, so we decided to put it back out for bid and try to get a better contractor.
Do we notify the residents like a couple days before, the day before, to get car off the street because we want to sweep it? Or
We tried to do this, but it was lack of communication with the contractor because we never knew when he'd come into town.
Okay.
We were gonna put signs up in certain neighborhoods. That didn't last long because people would move their cars, no sweeper come by, they put them back, so.
Right. Okay.
I have a question. And I'm glad that you're putting it out for bid, that's a good reason. Do you know how much of an increase it was from this other company to this company?
It's gonna be about $50,000 a year.
More, but it's worth it if you get the
I think
job
we'll
done.
get a lot better service with this contractor.
Okay. Councilmember Lynch.
I move to approve a 3-year contract for street sweeping services to Progressive Sweeping of Redford, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $157,754.25.
Support. Support from Councilmember Jacobs. Any comments from the table? From the general public? Mr. Moeller.
It's not a problem with the contractor, and he explained most of it already, what I was going to say, but the last time, they did sweep my street, but they did it on garbage day. And Arcola, and you know, in and out, in and out, in and out. Just make sure we get coordinated that it's not on garbage day, because they missed 2/3 of it on garbage day.
That's why that contractor's gone,
That's
too.
why I'm saying, I'm not going to say that, but I'm
Yep.
anyway.
Yep.
That was another problem.
And I would just, actually, I didn't know this till recently, but the state of Michigan requires street cleaning, correct?
One pass a year, at
Okay,
least.
because
We
I
like
don't
to
think
do
people, a
3.
lot of people know that.
Yep.
I didn't until recently.
Okay. Any other comments from the general public? Ms. Farren?
I would just like you to figure out the schedule for around the schools, because I have a friend that lives over by, she lives at Sheridan and Harrison, and her street never gets done. She and I have done it sometimes in front of her house, but because the cars are always parked there for the schools, it never gets done. So everybody's paying for it, so we'd like to see a benefit from it.
Okay. Take that into consideration on all the schools. Okay, any other comments? Mr. Farren? I thought she speaks for you.
She does. But sometimes I get to talk too. I just question, why do we do this 3 times a year? We have to do it by state law once a year, apparently. What real good does it do to do it 3 times a year?
I'm going to refer to Mr. Ullman.
The 2 main ones, of course, are right after the winter, with all the salt and stone debris that's down.
I
The
mean,
fall
Lincoln-
one is the leaves and the debris that's out there.
Lincoln Park does theirs every week. You get your car off the road on Monday morning, or you get tickets. But I mean, it's done on a weekly basis. I can see some value for something that's done regularly. But when you go months in between sweeping it, I mean, what do we really accomplish?
Thank you. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 11, 3-year contract for DPS uniforms.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jacobs.
I move to award the 3-year contract for DPS uniforms to Cintas Corporation of Westland per the bid process.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Any comments from the table on this? Work uniforms for the DPS guys, from the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 12, 2019 chip seal program construction services and construction contract. Mr. Doherty?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is long discussions about how we can get more roads done than we've already budgeted for at this point. The 15 million, we're looking at somewhat shortcuts to take some of those roads that are in 50% in good shape. They're not making the list. There should be some pictures rolling in the video a little bit here of chip seal, what it's called Cape Seal also. Generally, some of it's asphalt roads, not concrete, but they come through with a covering and we'll use the professional term schmuck. So they're gonna schmuck this road up a little bit right here, if that's a professional term. And then the stones come right across the top, as you see. They'll go 2 coverings across, they'll come with another layer and another layer of stones. You can drive on it shortly after it's done, but then it would come back about a week later, do a little street sweeping to pick up any loose stones, and then put one more cover on top. That's what becomes Cape Seal. So chip seal is just when you see a lot of the small skinny stones. Cape seal is when it has kind of a black macadam, I call it, on top. So it'll generally look like asphalt. You can't do it on roads that are falling apart. So the roads that are really in bad shape is one thing. There's parts of, perfect example for those that know Farmington Road area. There's a part that the first 2 or 3 blocks we're going to be replacing altogether next year. But from that point down to Marquette, the road's actually in half decent shape. A couple of spots needs to be touched up a little bit before we do this. So we're going to be doing this technique a lot heavily in the southwest section of the community where it's mostly asphalt roads. So roads right now, people voted for, they saw the list, they didn't see their road on there, still voted for the roads knowing the benefit that can help the community. A lot of their roads that are, again, only maybe 50% dead are going to be able to be replaced with this system. Not digging out, it's a one-day deal. You leave to work in the morning, come back in the evening, and your road has been redone. Come back a week later, they put the top cover on, and your road's good 10 to 15 years. A decade ago, the community did a couple of roads with the same technique, and I guess we forgot to keep doing it. But there are roads now you can see where there's a little couple of pits coming out, and you can see a couple inches lower was the original roadway that was covered, and those roads still look fantastic that were done with this technique. So it's not necessarily a temporary fix by any means. It's a major, serious fix. But it can't be done on roads that are falling apart at this point that are just destroyed. You can't just cover it with this. It'll just fall apart quickly afterward. It can't be done necessarily on concrete either. So although we're looking to try to do some good road work in the northeast section of the community, that is a lot of concrete work. So as people may see a map of what we're able to do, it looks like a lot of roads throughout the city, a lot more on the western side of the city because that's where mostly asphalt roads are. So it's our way of trying to do as many roads as possible, and not every road needs to be ripped out and replaced for $1 million. We're looking at doing miles and miles of this technique at a cost of $578,000, where normally it's 1 mile, $1 million for 1 mile. We're going to be doing many miles, 10 miles or more with this at this cost. And again, those roads will be saved now for another 10 to 15 years at least, giving us time to get back to them later if we need to, even at that point. So it's a great technique that people weren't expecting at this point, or knowing that the road was going to be done. Their road may be done now, one day they leave for work. And this work would be done in August and part of September.
Very good. Mayor?
Mr. Doherty, and that money, the money we're spending is not coming out of the bond money, right? Or
No,
the millage?
this would be Act 51 money dedicated towards roads. So we'll keep the $15 million that we're doing for roads, specifically on the major road work, and not this, which is, again, it's not a temporary fix by any means, but it's certainly not replacing a road. So we're going to use our Act 51 money that we have at this point for this program.
Just a quick comment. I know up in the Thumb, they do a lot of this. All their major roads are asphalt, and this is what they do. Because I went into Bad Axe one day, and they were doing the left side of the road, and I came back a couple hours later, and they were doing the right side of the road, and you were already driving on the left-hand
Yeah,
side, so.
you can do this for highways. It's a highway technique, so it's not just the small town
Exactly.
local road process.
Exactly.
Okay, motion's in order.
Mayor?
Councilmember Jacobs.
I move to approve the 2019 Chip Seal Program recommendation of construction contract award to Highway Maintenance and Construction Company of Romulus, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $578,300, and to approve the 2019 Chip Seal Program proposal for construction services to Hennessy Engineers of Southgate, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $3,500 for administrative tasks, and to approve the Bushelli Group of Livonia, Michigan, for the construction inspection services for the 2019 Chip Seal Program in an amount not to exceed $5,445.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. Any more comments from the table?
Mayor?
Councilmember Squires?
Yes, I know Jackson County uses this process, out around a lot of the lakes, and it does last for quite some time. and it's a very easy process, so I'm glad to see we're doing this to get more roads done. Thank you.
From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 13, memo of understanding for the GCS PPA. Mr. Doherty?
Yes, Mayor, this is just a CBA process here of the two positions putting on the record of being under their union is the Assistant Director of Communications and the Director of Communications, putting them on the chart as part of the CBA temporarily now until full negotiations later on, but certainly making them part of the collective bargaining agreement.
Mayor?
Councilmember McCarge?
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Garden City and the Garden City Supervisory and Professional Personnel Association effective July 1st, 2019.
Support.
Support for Councilmember Kerwin. Comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 14, Central Business District zoning amendments. Mr. Doherty?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll read a bit of lengthy discussion or some points here for everybody, but recently an issue has arisen from a decision by the Planning Commission not to permit the opening of a restaurant banquet facility in the former Alberts on the Alley building. Since then, several council members have brought concerns to me in reference to the currently established process, and last week we received legal notice from the law firm representing the facility ownership of their intent to take action against the city for what they mentioned as substantial monetary damages. Today, we received an extensive FOIA request from their attorney also. So their claim, without going into detail, is having a restaurant with a banquet facility and lowering the capacity to match the available parking. Their claim is that they're in compliance, with our laws as it is. So going back to the discussion I've had individually with council of some of the things that we need to look at, there's three main issues in question in relation to the current CBD ordinance. They are who has the final say in permitting uses, are banquet facilities similar to use to a restaurant, and why is the CBD the only area that parking across the street cannot be counted towards building capacity. So the first issue has come about is, should the city council have final determination? First, during review of the CBD, Central Business District, it's been interpreted that the Planning Commission has final determination on what is a permitted use. This determination does not exist anywhere else in the city other than the CBD. The overall determination for the remainder of the city zones as permitted to use is made by the zoning administrator of the city and not the Planning Commission. And this is evident in C1, C2, C3, even O1, the zoning administrator makes final determination on what's acceptable. Second issue consists of the allowance of a restaurant and banquet facility in the CBD. The CBD ordinance does not disallow banquet facilities by themselves. It just does not list them as on their extensive permitted use list. But is a banquet facility a similar use to a restaurant? This question is valid because the ordinance does allow businesses of similar use and restaurants are allowed in the CBD. The CBD currently allows 21 different categories of business types. Since the ordinance also states businesses of similar use, within the 21 different categories, we're looking at hundreds of different types of businesses could be in our downtown CBD. Currently, there's two buildings that could be considered a banquet hall in Garden City. They are the former Feyruz on Warren and American Legion on Middle Belt, if you would call those as banquet facilities. A few years ago, there were 7 banquet facilities in Garden City. The American Legion, VFW, Knights of Columbus, Roma, Hall, Toast, the Moose, Amadeus. We're not becoming the banquet capital of the world, as a resident stated to me, when you look at having 7 banquet facilities a few years ago, and currently we have 2. So it should be noted that while a restaurant banquet facility was denied by the Planning Commission through advisement of the DDA, the current CBD ordinance, the very same building in the CBD ordinance, such as a new VFW, could have a banquet hall in the back. In addition, while the restaurant banquet facility was denied, a mortuary is allowed in the same building in the CBD. A mortuary that could have a banquet facility in the back is allowed next to McDonald's in the center of our city, but a multi-million-dollar restaurant banquet facility was denied. The third issue, counting parking spots and the distance. The question has arisen to allowing a business to count parking spots across the street for additional parking so they can have a larger capacity in their building. It should be noted that we currently have businesses in the CBD that do not have any parking spots within their ownership. Some businesses only exist because they must count the city-owned spots as their own, which is allowed. And this issue will continue as some currently vacant buildings ask for permits in the future. They have very limited spots, if not any at all. Only in the CBD is a business not allowed to count parking spots across the street. Because they are outside the CBD, but right next door, businesses such as Plato's Restaurant and Ace Hardware can count parking across Ford Road if they want to expand. Only in the downtown district, where we hope to have a walkable community, are businesses not allowed to count parking across the street. Any developed downtown has parking everywhere for people to walk all over. Parking across the street is expected and is allowed everywhere else in the city, but not in the small area of the CBD. The side issue to the ordinance is the limitation of 300 feet to the farthest parking spot. 300 feet is less than the distance between the former Alberts on the Alley building to the Kmart parking area. 400 feet from the building line to the farthest spot allowed would make more sense. Therefore, in response to several conversations I've had individually with city council members, meeting with our own planning and zoning department, building department, and other advisors, I recommend the city council direct the planning commission to review the CBD ordinance in reference to the following issues. Change the language of ordinance 154-352A from planning commission to zoning administrator for overall review. That would make this ordinance read like the other ordinances. Number 2, add restaurants with banquet facilities to ordinance 154-352A1V as an allowable use along with the other 21 categories. And number 3, in ordinance 154-354B1, change the distance of 300 to 400 feet with the removal of the language that states on the same side of Ford Road or Middlebelt. And that's the recommendation.
Okay. Motion's in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jacobs.
I move to direct the Garden City Planning Commission at their July 11th, 2019 meeting to call for a public hearing for the Planning Commission meeting of August 8th, 2019, to review the CBD ordinance in relation to the City Council's concerns and report their recommendations back to the City Council at the Council's August 19th, 2019 meeting.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. Any comments from the table?
I have just a question.
Councilmember Earl.
I believe a lot of times history comes into play when you make these decisions. I'm just kind of curious as to the history of the zoning administrator everywhere but the CBD. Was there something in the past? I don't know if Ms. Stold can answer that or not. Was there something that happened? I'm just kind of curious as to it. Okay. Does anybody?
Councilmember Carge.
So basically, what we're doing tonight with this is asking the Garden City Planning Commission to have a public meeting, a public hearing in regards to these. So I'm not sure when the time and the place is to voice my concerns about some of the statements that the city manager has made. Because I went to the Planning Commission meeting. I agree with some things. I don't disagree with other things. The walkable community, I've heard that for many years, that, you know, we should make Garden City a walkable community. We are never going to be Plymouth or Northville. The state of Michigan is not going to let us go down to a two-way highway. We are always going to be, and in the CDB area, it's not just a turn lane, 2 lanes, it's also, you know, it's actually the right-hand lanes too. So it's a huge area. I think Ford Middlebelt is one of the busiest intersections in the state of Michigan. So do I have concerns about safety with people at night going across Ford Road to go to parking? I wouldn't have a problem if the police department can say, yeah, we'll be there to make sure that we give out tickets for any jaywalkers. But human nature, the way it is, I'm concerned about that. the language as far as banquet facility, we might have banquet facilities, but they probably weren't considered the primary. Just like the VFW, the banquet really wasn't their primary. Their primary was, their meetings and so it wasn't. So we've had banquet facilities, but we haven't had this large of a banquet facility. My concern is, again, is parking, and I've heard from several business people that they're concerned about parking. If they go from 600 down to what they had stated, and that parking would, they would have enough parking, I would definitely be looking at this in a different way. And that's what I thought they did at the Planning Commission, that they did say they would reduce it. So if they're willing to reduce it and keep it where they have parking, adequate parking, it's certainly something I think that at the hearing, we can bring that out. But I was thinking about this at home. When you talk about the same or similar, I'm thinking, okay, a rowboat is similar to a yacht, but, they both go in water. But am I against the banquet facility? Not necessarily. I just want it done safely. So I think this all should have been said at the hearing, but I have some concerns. Our zoning administrator, I really, I would like to know if our zoning administrator, when he was talking about the same, is he getting this from other communities that are saying it's the same? Is he getting it from educational, or is this his opinion? So, I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions and concerns. Do I think this is possibly doable? Yeah, I do, but I think there's questions to me. And I also know that we have to be careful that we follow the rules and regulations that are on the books. You don't circumvent the rules and the regulations, because that's when you start getting into trouble. So that's all I have.
Yeah, and I think we got to be fair. A lot of nights you'll see 15, 20 cars parked at Maplewood Lumber, and they cross Middlebelt to go into sports venue. Especially on the weekends, they cross Middlebelt all the time to go to sports venue. Back in the day when the Moose was open, people would park on this side of Ford Road and go over. If we have to put something in place that they have to cross at the light, and we write jaywalking tickets, you do that for a while, and the word gets out, don't cross, you better cross at the light. So we can make it to be safe, but I just don't think it's fair we allow other businesses to do this and say nothing, but we tell this business you can't do it. And you go down and look at sports venue every weekend, 15, 20, 25 cars parked at Maplewood Lumber, crossing Middlebelt. So, Councilmember Lynch?
I just wanted to say, as far as the permitted uses and structures recommendation of having the zoning administrator make the determination with the review and recommendation of the DDA, I'm totally in agreement with that. Because in a case such as this one that is potentially going on right now, the Planning Commission does not have a budget to pay the lawsuit. If they make the decision, technically they should pay the lawsuit. Or if the DDA makes the recommendation with the Planning Commission, they're the ones that would have to pay the lawsuit, because the city, we didn't get a voice in it. Therefore, why should we be paying the lawsuit? Whereas if the zoning administrator is the one that makes the determination, there's a lot of checks and balances along the way, that if everybody messes up along the way and the lawsuit happens, then the city pays for it. Other than that, I don't know how the city is always held responsible for the decisions of appointed people, not elected people. And I don't think that's fair. So I'm in total agreement with the zoning administrator. And as far as a restaurant with banquet facilities, they were willing, in this particular case, they were willing to change from being a banquet hall to a restaurant with banquet facilities. I don't think that's any different than some of our other restaurants, including Dario's. When they were in business, they had the very same thing, banquet facilities off the side with a small restaurant in the front. So I think that is totally a reasonable request. And 300 feet, 400 feet, if you look at the two corners of Middle Belt and Ford Road, we started out 20 years ago trying to make that all municipal parking. If we would have followed through with what we had originally planned, that means that any business that's on the far side, the beauty shop included, or what used to be Andrew's Drugs, their people would not be allowed to park down anywhere in the municipal parking. They'd have to only have a small portion they could use. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me either. So that being said, I think it's a reasonable request to change from 300 to 400 feet to allow a business such as the one that might be possibly going in to utilize all of that municipal parking. And that's just my 2 cents.
And I want to say, our planning commission members and DDA, all of our boards, they're volunteers, and they do a great job, they do great work all the time. But this last time, I'm just concerned of how they came up to deny on the last time, and it baffles me, because this particular business owner, we told him we didn't want stucco. We wanted red brick like McDonald's is going to be, like Hershey. He came back and said he'd do the red brick, not the stucco. We said 600, you don't have 600 parking. He adjusted down to 285 or whatever it was. And then we said, you can't be just a banquet center, you got to be a restaurant. He came back with paperwork saying he'll be a restaurant, 285 parking, and he'll do red brick, and we still denied him. I don't understand how they came up with that, but I'm generally happy with everything the Planning Commission does. I haven't really talked to any of them. I did talk to Will Pistor, but I just don't know this last time how they came up with a denial on the last one, when the paperwork in front of them listed restaurant, lower parking, red brick. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I do appreciate those that serve on our boards and commissions. Any other comments from the table?
Mayor, yes.
Councilmember Jacobs.
Yeah, my biggest concern, and I brought it up before this even came up, about council not having the final say. Unfortunately, we didn't have a problem with that one, or well, technically we do, with the parking on the street that the Planning Commission okayed. On this one, I have an issue because it could potentially cost the residents money, money that I don't want to pay. I'm sure no one else does. When that was brought up to DDA, comment was made that they've been sued before. They don't mind being sued again. I don't like that attitude. I think it's wrong, and I don't think it fits. I think the council that was elected to represent all the residents, should have the say, and if it's going to cost money, then it should be our fault if there's fault to be laid. So I'm kind of disappointed in the way some of this went down, and again, I just think the city council should have final say. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilmember McCarty.
I don't necessarily disagree about the zoning administrator having the final say. I think at that point, though, that we need to really be able to question how they're coming up with their decisions and stuff. Because I did have some concerns when I was at those meetings on how that zoning administrator was discussing the issues. I also want to remind people that the mayor appointed the people on the commission, and the council approved them. So, but I do think that, yes, it should come back to the council.
All right, any other comments from the table? From the general public? Mr. Karafotis.
My name is George Karafotis. I am an owner of Lucky Dog Daycare and Boarding, and I also had a position as an appointed trustee on the Downtown Development Authority Board. My concerns here today are in support of upholding the denial of a banquet facility at the former Albert's Bar and Grill on Middle Belt Road, a location which sits within the central business district, a location where it is against the CBD ordinance to open and operate such facilities. The solution for changes to allow such use, in my opinion, is an open and shut case based on the ordinances already set in place. This has already been proven twice when the Planning Commission used their own common sense in making their final judgment for denial. There was no influence by the DDA or from anyone who uses Facebook. All the ordinances used in their decision-making are factual and available for any and all to read or dispute if they may. I firmly believe that this issue, unrest, has created a struggle between the mayor, city council, and the city manager against the DDA. Instead of working together toward a common fair solution that's best for the community, the charge is led by our city manager, who may not even be here after fulfilling his 2-year certification. Are you willing to take the risk? Are you willing to allow him to make the necessary recommendations for changes to our charter and ordinances to appease this one banquet facility? Then just get up and move on elsewhere. Who's willing to repair the damages after he leaves if all the changes are approved? It's just not feasibly right. This is no longer just about the banquet facility. This is not just an effort to save the city from a supposed lawsuit. This has now become a blatant desperation effort to save somebody from within, from their own mistake of trying to fulfill a promise that was made to the banquet hall owners that simply could not be kept. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Let me remind you that this is your baby. I was told that you had brought these people in to purchase Albert's. You, as mayor and face of our community, should know just as well as anybody that ordinances are made to be followed. I'm sorry that there are those who blame the director of the DDA. I will tell you that you are wrong in doing so. And I want to remind everybody, the City Ethical Foundation, be fair, be honest, tell the truth, keep the word, exercise integrity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mrs. Farren?
I don't know all the details. I'm not involved with that. But you are talking about parking and businesses, and you do have to follow your ordinances there. We're at Helen and Ford Road when the phlebotomy school is in session. We have strange cars parked in our parking lot until that parking was situated. So he's right to a degree that you make the decision, but who gets to deal with the fallout from it? There's a business on Inkster Road who her customers cannot get anywhere close to her building because a business was allowed, a restaurant was allowed in next door. And it is hurting her business. You have existing businesses out there that should not be penalized because rules are not followed about the parking. So I'm just urging you to look at your ordinances and follow your ordinances and do what's right, because the fallout hurts your existing businesses. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I say something else?
Yeah, I want to make a comment. I don't know where you heard that I brought these people in. I was asked if there was a large building anywhere in the city, and I said Albert's on the Alley's been for sale. And I put him in touch with Mr. Valenti, and that's all I did. So I don't know where these rumors come that I brought him in and said, you can have a banquet center or whatever. I told him we had a large building for sale. That's all I did. So let's stop that rumor right there. Councilmember Jacobs.
Yeah, someone brought up about the parking on Inkster there. That was, again, brought with the Planning Commission's blessing and not the city council. We didn't have final say on that either. So, again, it should stop with us. As far as ordinances, they have been changed to allow businesses into certain areas. There's one right down Middle Belt that was changed a month before, it's turned into what it is. And there were complaints about the noise that was going to come out of it. There are still complaints about it. So there are pluses and minuses to all of it. But I think we should have the final say. I know there's ordinances, but DDA also welcomed them in on Facebook. Great news. Alberts is turning into a banquet facility. Good luck. You're not allowed in here. Don't buy it. Great news. Come on in. That was from DDA. So
April 4th, 2018, on
I'm
Facebook.
just, it's all there.
I've sat there for quite a while and listened to stuff about the DDA, and I just want to make sure that the general public understands the DDA, by ordinance, makes review and recommendation. Recommendation. At the last Planning Commission meeting, I got up because these gentlemen had come into my office a few hours prior to the meeting. I got up and asked the Planning Commission to table discussion on that because I had some new information that I wanted to be able to take back to my board. I was told that if I can't get that information to the Planning Commission in a timely manner, it was literally hours. So everything went forward. You know, I have a lot of issues with this tonight. Mr. Jacobs, that was not the quote that our chairperson gave you about being
Your
sued.
vice chair did. Mr. Boland said.
Mr. Boland said nothing.
Mr. Boland
Prosh,
said.
Chairperson Prosh, he did not. I have a
did.
couple of our trustees sitting here tonight that were at that meeting.
Yep.
It was Chairperson Prosh that made the comment. He said, his exact words were, "We have been sued before."
That was Mr. Boland, and he said, we just finished
I'm not going to
paying
argue. Like I said, I have a whole board of trustees that there are several other ordinances, though, that need to be considered, along with the ones that you're looking at changing. So, I've said this before, I've said it to each and every one of you. If you have an issue with the DDA or you have an issue with the DDA director, please call me. Come into the office. I'll meet you anywhere you want to meet. But so far, there's only been two people on this council that have bothered to call me and ask me what's going on with the DDA. 2 council members, and I have put this out there since day one. Every time we get a new council member, I give them information on the DDA, and I tell them, come and see me. So again, I'm going to put it out there to all of you. If there's an issue with the DDA or you don't totally understand something that we have done because you don't come to the meetings, or you're getting wrong information because you're not at other meetings, I would implore you to give us a call because we're there. We want to work with the city. We have wanted to work with the city from day one. Our relationship with this city was very, very good until recently. So I think maybe everybody also needs to take a step back and figure out why that is. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Motion in order?
That's already been made.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 7-0. I will say, we have a lot of ordinances, and we've done charter amendments over the years that get outdated. It's, you know, stuff that was written in the 70s and 80s, so we're constantly updating our charter and ordinances. So this ain't just for this particular thing. We just recently made some charter amendments. I mean, so you're always, you know, catching up and making changes. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up public comments for items that were not on the agenda. If you have a comment you want to make, please come to the podium and state your name.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council, Department Head, City Manager, residents present, and those viewing. My name is Stephen Chisholm. I am the new Director of Constituent Services for Representative Jewel Jones. I would ask that you excuse my attire as I was out campaigning because I'm up for re-election on Inkster City Council. and Representative Jones had to depart you early and go to the Livonia City Hall meeting as well. I just wanted to introduce myself, give you all my telephone number. You'll be seeing me more frequently as I am available, or if Representative Jones or one of the representatives from the office, as we circle around the different areas, you know, just to make sure that we're taking back the information from you and bringing information from Lansing down to you. My number is 313-409-8167. Again, that's 313-409-8167.
And your name again, sir?
Stephen Chisholm.
Could you spell the last name?
Yep, CHISHOL and M as in Mary.
Thank you.
Yep, and you can call or text, and when you reach out to me, I can provide you with my email and any other contact information that you may desire.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Doug Burnett. I own Dirty D Barbecue. I'm going to be the sponsor in the Bacon Run. And I currently have a food trailer right now on Belle Isle, which I'm going through all kinds of city problems with that, with the island being underwater, sewage running through, no bathrooms. So I'm currently looking, I own a house in Garden City, and I'm currently looking for a spot to bring my food truck here to the city, if it's ordinance applies. If not, I'm looking for a building to rent here. But I just wanted to introduce myself and hopefully bring you guys some awesome barbecue.
You need to see Ms. Dole. She's got a lot of empty buildings. We can find one for you. Yeah. Yeah.
I do a lot of cool feeds, everybody from the Blue Angels to Villages.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? City Manager's report. Oh, Mr. Molnar, you're slow.
Yeah, I'm getting old, you know. I'm almost 21 now. I just wanted to thank the city manager. I won't say what for, but I think you know. And the DPS guy for the quick action over around my area. I appreciate it. And we got to keep an eye on that guy, because I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. The only reason I'm saying that is the guy buys a house and then he sends his real estate guy over there. Normally, the way I always thought you did, your real estate guy is what you use to buy the house. So he's trying to do a quick flip, so keep an eye on that guy, because you know I'm going to.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? City Manager's report.
Okay, Mayor, just give a quick update. 4x4 area, we are right now between Henry Ruff and Merriman, Maplewood, and Ford. For people that live in that area there, you're going to see some tree trimming, signs replaced, looking for abandoned vehicles, any other code issues. That's our latest area of 4x4 as we pass around throughout the city over the summer. So that again is between Henry Ruff and Merriman, Maplewood to Ford. And that's it for right now.
Okay, Councilmember McCarge.
July 20th is looking to be a kind of a busy day. The Lucky Squirrel will be down in downtown Garden City, but also the Garden City Presbyterian Church is having its community health fair from 9:30 to 2. It's for all ages. There's free testing, blood pressure, eyes, hearing, dental, sugar, and there's also activities for the kids, a bounce house, kids craft table, an adult craft table, and it is all free. So that is July 20th from 9:30 to 2 at Garden City Presbyterian Church. And that is located at 1841 Middle Belt Road. Also on July 20th, the Garden City Garden Club is having their 25th Garden Walk in conjunction with the Garden City Historical Museum. It runs from 10 until 3, the actual walk, and there will be activities at the museum from 11 until 4. For those people buying tickets for the walk, the museum is providing a light lunch, so you'll be able to check out the gardens, come by the museum, and for those of you who did not see the Garden Club calendar from a few years ago, that will be at the Historical Museum, so you can take a look. But there will also be vendor show, plant sale, door prizes, and just a lot of good activities, starting with, seeing 6 great gardens here in Garden City. So tickets are available at Barson's Greenhouse. Information is available at Maplewood Center and also at Barson's Greenhouse. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Kerwin?
I don't remember. I know that we have our ordinance officers, but I can't remember if they drive around at night or if they're available on the weekends as well. I was made aware of an issue that happened over the weekend, this past weekend, because it's the holiday weekend, and I think they thought they could get away with stuff, and so I'll have to give you the information later, but I don't remember.
We do periodically, but it's not something we let people know about.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lynch?
I just have a fun fact. The mayor of Killarney in Ireland sends his greetings to Garden City. I'm serious. I was there and I met him and he told me to send his greetings to the city council and the city of Garden City. So I'm doing so.
Did you bring back any bagpipes?
Not bagpipes, but Jameson.
Okay.
It's better than bagpipes, right?
For sure.
Councilmember Jacobs?
Just a couple of things. Commissioner Anderson, thank you for Merriman, because that road is terrible. That bridge and that whole section of road is absolutely horrible. And also, I have Autos for Autism next Monday, July 15th. It starts at 5 p.m., I believe, at the middle school. Nice weather we will have. I think they had 100 and some odd cars last year, all makes, models, years, and benefits for the children with autism, or the people with autism at mostly Berger School. So if you can make it, come on out. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Squires?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Earl?
Yeah, a couple things. First, although I appreciate Lisa Clayton, or Lisa's update from the senator, I would love to see the senator actually show up to a meeting. I know it's not going to happen anytime soon. My question is on the one-on-one meetings, is that with the senator or is that with one of her associates? Do you know?
I haven't seen her yet. It's
Okay.
been, what, 7, 8 months?
Yeah.
And we used to see Senator Kniezek in here all the time. I don't get it.
I know that on several occasions, I contacted senators from across the state through some of the other jobs that I had, and never had a problem with them meeting me in their district. And this is an absolute joke that our senator, who, if you look at her legislative agenda so far, has been absolutely worthless in Lansing anyways, and done nothing for us. So I'd like to see her here. And then the other thing is the McDonald's and the issue with DTE. So could you explain that? Because that's
Yes.
a travesty.
The McDonald's is just as disappointed as we all are that it hasn't started yet at this point. I talked to the head man earlier today. DTE's been holding him up for up to 6 months. He said he's gone through a couple layers above his normal contact, who seems to have disappeared. I forwarded over our government contact about 3 weeks ago, going through the same ringer at this point. The stuff we did tonight was just kind of an easy rubber stamp thing, but they have a contractor ready to go. They're ready to build this moment if they can just get the final okay from DTE. That's been going back to late fall. So we're on a standby right now.
Can we keep calling DT and stay on them to tell them we want a new McDonald's? You guys are holding us up?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Mr. Miller, you have anything for us?
I have nothing this evening.
Okay, all I have again is Operation Fire Up this Saturday, painting fire hydrants. If you want to volunteer, please show up at the Maplewood Community Center at 9 o'clock. We'll be there till like noon, 1 o'clock, and beautify the city a little bit, get some of our fire hydrants painted. That's all I have. No further business. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.